So one of the things I'm going to talk about is actually how all businesses have competition. Actually, I'm going to write this down. Even if you run a business and you think it's super unique that there is no other competition, I'm going to try and think of something. I've got friends that I actually went to university with who send stuff into space. You know, you can send your ashes into space, but they do a lot of stuff with TV commercials and brands and stuff. That is pretty unique. But they still have competition in the market. There probably is people that actually do, what they do, but not many. But one of the other things that people often miss about competition is one of the things that you always compete against is the option to do nothing. So people could choose to send their product into space, film it, and it creates some really cool kind of content, or not. And it's that always balance of actually, you need to really have a proper idea on what you compete with and against to really understand your market, to really be able to find your niche. So for instance, with business education, with what I do, yes, you could go to a university, spend £40,000, take 2 years off work and learn some business skills. You could actually just start up your own business and learn it from scratch. Or you could do nothing, or whichever. And you really have to piece your offer together with actually thinking through all the options that you actually compete against. And often it's not kind of obvious. But one of the best things you can do, and I do this, is to really understand your customers, to really understand your competitors, what they're good at, what they're bad at, why they're better than you, why you're better than them, is actually to be a customer yourself. So for instance, I spend a lot of time reading business books and looking at other people. So this is called the Personal MBA by a guy called Josh Kaufman. And I must admit, the content is pretty good. Some of it is useful, some of it less so. But the big thing that I've really kind of realized as the takeaway is that it's a proper slog to go through. There's 400 plus pages and it's all text. There's no graphics, there's no real breaks, and it's just non-stop. It's quite difficult to go through. So what I've been interested in is that although actually his content is good, there's a lot of weak points that I know when I look at my customers and consumers. There's different ways to do it. So for instance, the whole interactivity thing is that I'm playing hard on. But likewise, explaining videos, concepts in videos and that kind of thing is really important. But then likewise, any of my alternative customers that have online courses, my plan is over time, I'm going to do them. I'm going to find them, I'm going to see what they work, see what works, see what they do better than me, and vice versa. But the same would be true if you have a coffee shop and you're looking actually, how do we innovate, how do we learn, how do we grow, is go and actually do market research, go and sit in your rival coffee shops, find out what their coffee tastes like, what prices do they do, what kind of clientele do they come in, when are they busy, what are they good at, and actually just steal the good ideas. And it's that kind of thing of the best way to actually innovate your company is to look at what other people do, find the niche, find out what you can actually do better than other people, and then kind of just do it. And I think sometimes people shy away from not just the competition element, but you should always recognize that there are other people that will do what they do or you do better than you. And the trick is to almost look at it, accept it, learn from it, and then get as good, if not better. And it's this constant improvement is actually really important to think of. But actually, have a think and almost put in the comments, what competitors would you or should you kind of check out, see what they're good at, and actually use that to develop your own niche. I think it'd be a really interesting thing to think about. I do it and I actively spend a lot of time doing it. I guess it has two benefits. One, I get to see how my competitors kind of perform. And then two, it does actually improve my skill set, which makes me better for when I talk about stuff. So it's that kind of thing, but the same will be true for you as well. And yeah, related to that, you can also find out what needs as a customer are those companies not serving. And it's often the hardest thing actually in business and it's a human trait. The hardest skill is to identify things that aren't there. You can often identify if there's an elephant in the room, which is terrible and you hate, but trying to identify the gaps and the opportunities is actually the really kind of most important thing. And then one of the other things that often everyone can do, and this is true in B2B, B2C, is just be more flexible. So for instance, if people have opening hours, or you have 30-day standard payment terms, or whichever. The more you kind of get to know your customers, there are lots of things that you can do that just on lead time or payment terms alone, you could probably win a lot more business just through looking at what your competitors do. Ask your customers, then kind of learn and iterate. I think it's a really important kind of concept to think about. I would love to know in the comments what you've done in the past, how you look to innovate. And another good concept as well is to really have, it's like a business enemy in some ways. It's someone that you admire, who's really good at what they do, but you also kind of hate them. And when you've got that ambition for someone you're almost targeting, to emulate in some ways. So for me, mine is actually something called a Power MBA that you'll probably be able to check out. And they do something very similar to what I do, except they've been going for 3-4 years. But actually, they have 55,000 users. I want that. That's what my target is. And I hopefully believe the stuff I can do, which can do it better. And part of the thing that you'll see me hopefully do for the next 2-3 years is just learn to kind of iterate and that kind of thing as well. But no, I'd love to know kind of what you've done and things that you kind of plan to do for the future.